Caesar Keller is here with us today. Caesar from Simple Flame. Caesar, let's talk today about brand personas.
Sure.
Have a discussion about that, but let's start by asking the very simple question, what is a brand persona?
Sure. So it's simply defined as a fictitious profile of a customer written in plain English. And really, it can be as simple as that. Some companies take it way beyond that. But it's a profiling mechanism for you to understand your customers just a little bit better.
Okay. You said something there that was interesting to me, that a brand persona can be simple, or it can also be very complex and elaborate. You can really choose what suits your purposes. Is that right?
It comes down to just how much research and development and detail you want to throw at it.
Okay.
But the concept of at least creating a profile to help you with your marketing initiatives and positioning statements, and to help build that relationship with your customer, those things can be done even through a simple process.
And really now you're getting into the why we want to create a brand persona, why anybody would go to the time and effort of creating. Tell us about that.
Sure. So, as marketing professionals, sometimes we come across just a lot of demographic information and a lot of statistics. And although that's wonderful and that's great and that can be used as a base, really that's nameless, faceless information. And when we start trying to appeal and have action with those particular people that represent those demographics, we lose sight that they're people. So this is a process of having empathy. This is a process of building a relationship. It's a process of understanding that customer profile just a little bit deeper, but more from a common sense approach rather than just numbers. And that builds a relationship. It builds a repertoire in your internal staff of how to understand the widgets that you're selling or the services that you're offering. And by understanding that profile, we're humanizing our customers, which is what demographics do not do.
Exactly. And the way that I see it is that by humanizing and by putting although fictitious, name and face to it, you begin to think in a little bit different terms that enables you to communicate differently, better, more powerfully with your prospective audience.
Sure.
And so let's think about this then. What happens if we fail to develop a brand persona?
Then sometimes our marketing and our content starts to, I walk like a robot, I talk like a robot, and sometimes it doesn't really appeal to the people that we're trying to interact with. So it's that next closest step to, I understand what my customer needs. I understand why they would pick us instead of someone else. Or think about how many people work in companies, but they never see the customer because they're not on the front row of sales or anything like that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they can't think and approach and understand the values that customer has, the pain points that they're solving, and how to build that brand just a little bit closer.
Boy, as you talk about that, it occurs to me that so you have your marketing team that's developing the personas, but what if you also have a customer service team? And if the customer service team is aware of these personas and they're discussing the personas, then they're not creating marketing communications, but they are interacting with people. And by thinking of them as people, right, that they almost have a relationship with because they've been discussing these personas, I would think that it would improve the way that they relate to people in customer service.
It's funny that you say that. When you talk about, we're a technology company, so there's always a lot of engineering conversations. And anytime you have any kind of conversation with business goals in mind, you're like, okay, what's the purpose? What's the goal? Because it's easy to just get caught in loops that really end in conversations that don't matter. But if you have a persona that you always get to go by, it kind of anchors, well, hold up. Betty is not going to care about that feature because Betty cares about this, this, and this.
Right.
Don't you guys know? We know Betty really well.
So the end result is how you can ask the question at the end of the conversation, all right, we've got these 3 or 4 or 5 personas. How is Jill going to be well served? How is Bill going to be well served? How is Sally going to be well served? And what will be the impact on them? Great way to think through all the different things that you're doing.
Right. So if you try to implement this process or way of thinking as a part of the culture in your company, I think you're just taking that one step further. And so it's not just the marketing professional. And like I said, it doesn't have to be difficult. It's just a new way of thinking. And once people are exposed to it, they're pretty impressed about it.
So you can start with something simple And then if there's a need to make it more elaborate and spend more time on it, you can always do that.
Sure.
Cesar, thanks for sharing with us today.